Hey buddies, coming at you from kind of a slow week for VGA, which it was not at all for us in particular, and I guess that's why it seems slow to you, is because we're taking a couple days for ourselves. More on that in a second, but first I want to get to my first impressions on BioShock Infinite. It is awesome, quite close to as awesome as all the reviewers are saying. It is phenomenal, in fact, yes. It is the pinnacle of this generation of gaming, which is prone to happen at the very end of a console's life. Of course, it's not just on consoles, it's also on the PC, and therein lies my only gripe with BioShock Infinite, is that it did not challenge itself, or at least from what I've seen so far, and I mean, if they didn't show the polish that I'm looking for in the very beginning, it probably isn't going to happen. I'm just talking about ultra specs, basically, for the PC gamer, tweaking it out to the very bleeding edge. We've seen a lot of great games in the last little bit, like Tomb Raider, Hitman, Crysis, all three of those, sorry. I should have done that before I started. All three of those games have done a great job of really challenging and pushing the limits of current the PC systems and graphics cards. And I think we've all been appreciating that because it's fun to see, you know, especially when we're on the eve of the next generation of console, what the next gen might look like. And usually the current gen of PC is a good preview of that. That is like my probably only nitpick so far in our first 4 hours of gameplay, is that BioShock Infinite, while beautiful and stylized, so it gets away to a certain extent with not being hyper-realistic, did not even come close to, you know, the things that the Hitman was achieving and Tomb Raider was achieving. And, you know, of course, graphics aren't everything, I acknowledge that, and story, and from what I've heard, the story goes amazing, profound places, and that is a huge, ultimately, that is the biggest part. Gameplay and story, where it goes with that. But again, it's just a small gripe that it didn't really, it's not challenging itself. And if scores are not to be relative and held up against their peers, then what are they? So that's why I feel that maybe it is just slightly overrated, because it's not taking into account, reviewers aren't taking into account how it stacks up against the its competition. But aside from that, the graphics still look beautiful, like I said, particularly because it is a stylized game, so it gets away with not being on the bleeding edge. And it is a gorgeous atmosphere. The art direction is incredible. The voice acting is amazing. The pacing is really great. I feel much better than the previous BioShocks. The pacing keeps me engaged just enough and is delving out or divvying out the combat and action in just the right portions, and along with the story. And that's a huge part of the game, the pacing, so that you don't feel like you're ever getting into a rut. I guess this kind of also speaks to the graphical gripe, however. This world of, what is it called? It's not Rapture this time around. What is it again? I forget the name of the city. I'm sorry. Whatever. Doesn't feel as bustling as I had expected it to be. We, from the beginning, were saying how nice it is to be in a BioShock city that is pre-falling apart. You know, BioShock, I still want to see a prequel for the BioShock series where we get to see Rapture before it fell apart and went to hell. And in this case, I was expecting to see a city that was just a little more bustling. You see these buildings around you that can house hundreds of people, and it's during one of their annual fairs where everybody comes out and has a great time and celebrates the Prophet's something, I forget. No spoilers because I can't remember exactly what it's doing. But the fact that it's supposed to be sort of you actually go to a literal fair at the beginning, and it's a celebration place, and like you go to the stage at one point in an amphitheater, and the crowd is just, for lack of a better word, sparse. It's very sparse, and I don't feel like it gave me the sense that they were trying to convey of this bustling city. Again, this sounds like nothing but nitpicks, but I mean, you've heard all of the accolades at this point. You know it's worth playing. You know it's an amazing game. I'll tell you right now, you have to play it, just based on what I've played so far. But I'm giving those nitpicks because that's what you do when you love a title. You can always wish for more, and in this case, I would say screw the graphical polish I started this vlog off with. Just give me more people. Let those corpses stick around longer. Oh man, they don't even stick around at all compared to BioShock, which is even crazy. Like that seems even crazier, because BioShock's corpses stick around to the point where, you know, you can use them to throw around. And I think you can do that in this game too. So I'm not sure why they're disappearing so quickly, but they're like gone like that. They don't stick around for any other business, which is one of my favorite things to do, is to play around with the corpses. I like to see the physics and the ragdoll and toss them around a bit afterwards. And particularly in our first looks, because we like to derp around. So that was a bit of a disappointment, that there wasn't a bustling crowd to make your way through. You felt as though, how come I haven't been noticed yet when I'm just one dude? I'm the only dude running around here, and everybody else is in groups of threes. Like maybe there's 5 groups of 3 here, and I'm just this dude who obviously isn't from around here. I should have been noticed by now. And then just, you know, for atmospheric purposes, I would have liked to see more people. That aside, that's it. BioShock Infinite's looking beautiful. It looks like it holds up to the trailers. The gameplay feels great. I love that we can now use plasmids. I keep forgetting the names of them. Tonics? No. Vigors can be used at the same time as weapons. There's no, like, you know, it doesn't feel as clunky to switch back and forth between them, which is a huge plus. I've heard there's combos involved and things like that. I'm sure we'll get into as we play a little bit more. I'm playing on easy mode just so that we can really soak in the story and I don't have to worry about dying every 5 seconds. It's a fun game, and we will long haul it. I'm just going to give you guys some time to go out and get it. Those who are saving up or haven't been able to get it right off the bat, I'm going to give you at least probably, you know, a few weeks before we finish off this title or get into the long haul. So now that that's out of the way, talking about this week in VGA, been a slow week, particularly because it's beautiful here in Vancouver. We just got off of Boston, which was not beautiful at all there. And we just feel like if you've lived in Vancouver as long as we have, almost 6 years now, you know that every year you get this 1 week stretch of really gorgeous weather, and then you get another 2 to 3 weeks of, you know, rain. And so we're trying to really soak it in at this moment. And again, you know, it's a bit of a staycation after a very hectic vacation with you PAX buddies. We plan to get back in. I think the weather's going to start dipping here towards the end of the week. So, you know, you might see a surprise show between now and Thursday. My plan right now is to get back into shows on Thursday, but you might see a show between now and then of Becky and I might do a quick casual Ni no Kuni couples co-op show. Aside from that, I don't know. I think that you'll see that it does better for the show when we take these extended breaks every so often. The other thing is schedule, and I know that it threw you guys off that we had our pre-packs and our BioShock Infinite shows at 9 a.m. Again, the reason for that is because of gorgeous weather. It's getting to 18 degrees here, and it heats up the studio, and, well, rather, it's harder to keep the studio cool while we're shooting as it's reaching those levels. Second of all, we wanted to get our days started, and we want to take advantage of this weather, so those 2 shows that we had to do, you know, not that it's a chore to do, well, you know, it's still a job, but, like, we did them because if we're going to do these and it's going to be nice outside, we got to get them done before it gets hot, and then we can go out and treat ourselves. That's what happened. But that said, I have been considering, you know how when I told you guys in the past that when summer comes around, we go to night schedule so that it will be cool in the studio and easier to shoot? I'm considering the same thing this year, but going to a morning schedule so that more people are able to watch the show still. How that works with us, I'm not sure, because it is really nice to wake up and sort of have a coffee and start your day a little bit slower before you turn yourself on for the show and get into that crazy acting stupid mode. Whether we decide to do that or not, I'm not sure. We might try to, well, this coming week we don't have to do that because it's going to be rainy and cool, I think, so we won't probably transition to that. But in the next coming 2 months or so, as it starts to warm up, you might see us get onto that 9 a.m., maybe 10 a.m., maybe 11 a.m. We have to decide what the best balance between heat slash how early in the morning slash how many people. But once we get a time, we're going to stick to it. So we're going to decide which time we start summer shows at. I'm thinking 10 a.m. is probably the best sweet spot there. So 10 a.m. Pacific time, but we'll keep you posted on it. And I hope you guys are okay just catching up with some of our shows while we continue to sort of take a little bit of a break here. We'll be back ready to wrap up the rest of the long hauls this season as we approach summer. We want to finish off all these long hauls before we get into the dog days here. And then, you know, as the dog days of summer come in and it's just hot all the way around the clock, kind of, we're going to be looking at more Minecraft and probably full screen shows to accommodate that. We'll still do full screen shows, but, you know, it's a learning process every year we do this. I mean, this is only our second full year of going live all the time, so we're learning what works best all the time. Thanks for watching, buddies, and we'll see you almost definitely on Thursday. We'll be starting back in full-fledged, but you might see us before that. Stay tuned. Keep an eye on Facebook and Twitters. And I love you. Keep on playing.